Hey, this is Scott Holt from Foghat. I'm here with Roger Earl from Foghat, and these are our Marquee memories. "1975, I'm 9 years old, and Elvis is coming to town. My parents were trying to decide if they were going to take me and my brother because the tickets were really expensive. You know, we got these nosebleed seats behind the stage, but I just remember going in and the building just felt like it was pulsating. And then he came on and it was just like this nuclear explosion. And the woman sitting next to my dad, who he didn't know, but she was trying to yank his binoculars from around his neck so she could see. But yeah, it was life-changing.
The Stones have always been one of my favourite bands. When records would come out, we put the record on the record player and it was like magic. You know, you turn it up as loud as the speakers will bear and it's like, whoa. I grew up in southwest London. I used to go and see the Stones at the Marquee, but there was one time I saw them at Eel Pie Island. I go to the bar. I think I was only 16. I didn't know at the time, but I was right behind Mick and he turned round and bumped into me with his beer. I said, "Oh, sorry, mate. That was my brush with greatness." When they started playing in theatres and stuff, you couldn't really hear them because back then they had like maybe 2 Vox columns as a PA and there's 3,000 people outside. And then, of course, all the girls started screaming, so you couldn't hear them anyway. But they were a fantastic band.
I've seen the Rolling Stones a bunch of times. Not as many as you have, and not in the clubs.
But they're good.
Yeah, they're great. Well, I was a huge Prince fan. I saw him a bunch of times, and this particular time he was in Knoxville. And I took my wife, and we ended up on the front row. My wife is extremely attractive, and Prince kind of looked at her the whole night, which made me equal parts proud and also wanted to kick his ass because, you know, he was my wife. But every time I saw Prince, he was amazing. He could do everything. He could play the drums, and he sounded like a drummer. And he played guitar like a guitar player. And, but I thought he was cool. You know, any guy that can wear high heels is, you know, it's pretty badass.
Without Jerry Lee, there would be no rock and roll. There was always music in our house. There was always a radio. We were the first ones, I think, to get record players. My father brought home a record. I believe it was Great Balls of Fire. And my dad said to me, "Here, have a listen to this boy, son. He can really play the Joanna." It was magic. And about a couple of months later, it was around 1960, Dad took me to see Jerry Lee Lewis at a theatre in southwest London somewhere. I was never the same. I recently saw him, I say recently, maybe 10 years ago, and he was fantastic. He has this reputation of like going on stage and then not playing anything. So he comes up and he starts playing a couple of country tunes, and he gets up and says, "Oh, I think that's enough." And he said, "I'm just kidding." He sat back down and played for well over an hour, and he was something else.
Buddy Guy's the artist that made me want to play music professionally. My father took me to see him play at a club in Tampa, Florida, and he had like a 100-foot guitar chord, and he went out in the street and went to the bar and was playing on the bar, and just I'd never seen anything like that. And my father had set it up, unbeknownst to me, that I was going to get to meet Buddy and talk to him, and I was mortified. And then Buddy invited me to his hotel room the next day for a guitar lesson. So I spent 4 hours with him the next day talking about guitars and playing and stuff. I went back home from that knowing that that's all I wanted to do for the rest of my life. About a year later, he called me and asked me to join his band, so I played with him for 10 years. He was my mentor. It was like going to the university. There's stuff I do now in my career that I don't even know why I do it, and then I'll realize it's something that I'm copying from Buddy. It's something that he taught me. Thanks for listening to our Marquee Memories. Catch us on tour to make some of your own.